I'm exhausted, but I can't switch off. I can't think straight. My workplace is way too toxic, and I'm terrified to ask for help. If all this sounds like your workplace, then don't worry, you're in the right place, because in this video, I'm going to go through burnout and how you can help yourself. I've experienced burnout. I was in the police for 10 years. I was a shift worker for many, many years. I know plenty of people who are in that industry who repeatedly tell me the issues what they have, because burnout doesn't just affect you while you're at work either. Burnout is an all-encompassing issue. It's like PTSD, it's like trauma, it's a fatigue which is more than just physical. Time off alone doesn't necessarily just fix burnout. It has to be a fundamental shift in both the environment we find ourselves in and also our response and reaction to it. I actually have a free resource available if you are a shift worker or you are struggling with burnout. It's called a shift survival guide. You can pick it up in the description of this video. It's totally free, and in it we talk about diet, exercise, mental health. We talk about ways how to have better sleep, how to look after yourself, loads and loads of good things in there. So if that sounds interesting, you've literally got nothing to lose, click the link and get your shift survival guide. So what actually is burnout and why do so many people suffer with it? And in a nutshell, burnout, without going into all the science and everything else, it's when your body is in overdrive and it can't switch off. Imagine you have a adrenaline response and a relaxed response. Burnout is when you are stuck in that adrenaline response. Your body's always on hyper alert due to the stress of your workplace. Now, when something happens at work, your body perceives that as a threat. It's a way the body and the brain has evolved to survive. An email what's come through or a overstretched workload and not enough staff to deal with it all give the same stress response. And over a long enough period of time, your brain and your body and your nervous system get fried, they get stressed out, they get burnt out, which is why we find that we struggle to sleep, we struggle to eat, we struggle with everyday things, and we feel quite emotionally numb. And sometimes what can happen is that compounding effect of stress as well, where we just absolutely crumble, where we crack. One thing I tell shift workers and emergency service workers when they come to me for advice: look at what happens after a shift. Are you somebody who goes home, sits on the couch, watches television, has their phone in their hands and are endlessly scrolling, maybe have a couple of beers, maybe you put something in the oven because your feet haven't touched the floor all day? Now with that, what I would suggest is, rather than going home and turning on the TV and being on your phone, try to instead put on some relaxing music. I personally like a bit of lo-fi music, a bit of lo-fi chill. I've always really struggled with sleep, and I found that watching TV and playing games, being on my phone, was not helping. I started to treat my after work routine as quite sacred, really. I wouldn't really touch alcohol. I used to always drink after a shift, but I wouldn't touch alcohol. I'd have a drink of water or like a nice cup of decaf tea, maybe some music on, dim the lights a little bit, maybe get a little bit, sounds a bit romantic this. And I would write down my thoughts. I would write things down. I would write down all of what's happened that shift, all the good, the bad, anything what's on your mind. Because all what's going to happen is you're going to go to bed and you're going to be thinking about it anyway. So why not purge your thoughts? Why not get it all down then and there? My workplace is toxic and I feel trapped. Very common one, this, something I've certainly felt a lot of in my old workplace. It was you were ignored by your manager, you would raise a concern and they'd go, oh, you need to go to the big boss. And then you go to the big boss and you'd get either a politician's answer where you knew nothing was going to change, or you were just blatantly ignored and told that actually everything's fine, you're the problem. That doesn't go very far to making you feel very valued and very, happy in your work. So that was always a bit of a problem. And a lot of what I found was I wanted to control things outside of my control. If someone made a stupid decision, or if I thought something was unfair, or I had something knocked back from an organization or an email, or I had an additional task to do that day when I didn't want to because I was too busy anyway, I was finding I was getting very upset over these external things, which frankly were outside of my control. So I had two choices to make there. Either I could let these things ruin my day and get very upset by them, and I could argue the toss with people who frankly didn't care, or I could understand I am one person. I am one person and I can only do what I can do. If it got to the point where I would be looking at being reprimanded because I can't do three people's work, I would make sure I kept a journal and I would note down everything I'd done that day. And if I could honestly sit there and say, I have been working, I've done these 10 things today, you can't now reprimand me, have a go at me for not doing an additional 30 things which weren't my job in the first place. You can break your back for your job. You can break your back. You can sacrifice time with family. You can work The overtime, the weekends, you can stay late after work. But if you get ill and you leave, or you quit, or you become a long-term sick, someone else will be sat back in your chair. Someone else will be sat in your chair doing your exact same work. Organizations care about the organization first. They care about people second, maybe third, probably fourth, if at all. And I know that we all want to do a really good job, but you do not sacrifice yourself for an organization which doesn't care. And make sure you have boundaries too. If your boss says, I need you to come in tomorrow when your day off and you're not being paid and you don't want to, then say no. You have to have time off. The rest days and recovery days and days off for a reason. And when we do talk about the context of burnout, often, yes, work is stressful, but it's also getting the little phone calls, the little emails there. Can you just open up your laptop and just check this for me while you're off work? Do not answer work calls. And if people say, why didn't you answer your phone on your day off? You say, because it was my day off. One big thing when it comes to burnout and mental health in general is people being very scared to ask for help. This is a very big thing. People scared to ask for help from colleagues, from support services, from management and line management. And there's a few reasons for that. One of them is you're fearful of being judged. You're fearful of repercussions. You're fearful of, well, if you can't handle this job, then what are you even doing in this position? There's also fear of consequences. I've heard some very unethical practices and quite nasty, poor management practices that happen when somebody says, I need help, and then they are then put on like an action plan, or they are moved, or career opportunities are blocked because the person has been potentially struggling. That's not okay. There's also fear of looking weak, and this is one which I struggled with quite a lot because I was hailed for my resilience. I was told I'm quite a resilient person. So I remember thinking, well, why am I getting so stressed? I don't need to have time off. I'd never have time off stress. And like I said, I ignored it. And then that got to the point where I was actually quite ill as a result of it. And I had to have a couple of weeks off. It's okay to ask for help. And you don't have to go the professional, like kind of proper route where you're asking the supervisor. It can be you are speaking to a friend in work or a trusted colleague. It could equally be somebody outside of work. It could be a therapist. It could be a trusted family member. It could be a friend who you trust outside of work who has no affiliation to the job whatsoever. You could also journal. You could write down your thoughts and feelings. You could do a video diary. You could even just record your voice, do a voice note to yourself, and you could air all of these different things. Trauma and pain and stress live inside the mind and the body, and if there's a way of communicating that and getting that out, it may not fix it completely, but it can certainly alleviate the weight of it, and that can only help. So, terrified of asking for help, we believe it has to be a formal organisation, and there are certainly organisations out there that can support people, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It can be a friend, a family member, or even yourself. You could ask yourself for help. What do I need right now? And how do I best get that? And sometimes it may be you need a new career. Sometimes it can be you just have to take some time off, maybe go part time. Maybe you look if you can transfer to a different unit or if you can work in a different sector altogether. Remember, this is only a job, there's only one of you. Make sure you're looking after yourself. There is always something what you can do to support yourself, whether that's a bit of a mindset shift when it comes to your job itself, that you're only one person and you can only do the work of one person. Is it what can you do outside of the job, such as exercise, catching up with friends, speaking to somebody, journaling, voice noting yourself, all very, very good things. And then there's also the ultimate option of leaving that career altogether and maybe starting something completely fresh. You are important, you are wonderful, you are loved. Burnout is a symptom of something going wrong, not that you are broken. And I want you to understand that. Anyway, thank you so much for everything what you do. Thank you for checking out this video. Make sure you subscribe. Check out the Shift Survival Guide. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And I'll see you in this video here. Check it out. YouTube says you'll like it. Until then, see you later.